I am for that. I can't, I mean, it was you, like, make no mistake about it. I didn't do that. Penguin didn't do it. No one did it except for you and arguably Hank. And I mean, when they called me to say that that had happened, I just kind of collapsed into a puddle of tears because, not because the sales themselves mean so much, but because, when you spend a long time working on a book, as I spent a long time working on Paper Towns, it's just hugely fulfilling to know that, that it is reaching its readership, and that it's reaching this readership that reads with such thoughtfulness, such depth, such clarity. I feel so fortunate now that we're doing the book for the Working Book Club so we can talk about it critically. I'm psyched. So I'm going to read the vaunted page 23 because it's about how we imagine our stories and how poorly we sometimes imagine our stories. And I can't tell if there are any very tiny little ears in the audience. If there are little tiny ears who might not know about the magic of Christmas. Okay, in that, huh? Oh yeah, sure. Good idea. Now we're good. Okay, yeah, that's important too. That's good. Okay, this is much better. Thank you. So yeah, I'm just going to read a little bit, and this is about how this part is obviously, hopefully, not just funny, but about how we imagine our stories and our lives. No typing on BlogTV till later. All right. Oh, the internet's watching. I think all you need to know if you haven't read the book is that Margot Roth Spiegelman is the most fantastically awesome thing that's ever happened to Winter Park High School. That her next door neighbor is Q, who's a band geek who's not even in the band. But Q's two best friends are Ben, who thinks that the surest path to a girl's heart is to call her a honey bunny, and Radar, who is an African-American semi-professional editor of a website that's identical to Wikipedia. It's not called Wikipedia, and some people have asked me if that's because I was worried that Wikipedia was going to sue me. That is, of course, ridiculous. No one in all of human history has less standing to sue anyone for anything than Wikipedia. I called it Dictionary for fancy literary reasons. It contains all of the knowledge. Okay. They're in a cafeteria. Ben, who's desperate to have a prom date, is in a cafeteria with Q, and they're meeting Radar's girlfriend for the first time. I was thinking about how, oh no, I'm getting ahead of myself. Actually, that's not a bad place to start. I was thinking about how Radar's parents actually were in the Guinness Book of World Records when I noticed a pretty African-American girl with spiky little dreads standing above us. It took me a moment to realize that the girl was Angela, Radar's, I guess, girlfriend. Hi, she said to me. Hey, I said. I'd had classes with Angela and knew her a little, but we didn't say hello in the hallway or anything. I motioned for her to sit. She scooted a chair to the head of the table. I figure that you guys probably know Marcus better than anyone, she said, using Radar's real name. She leaned toward us, her elbows on the table. It's a crap job, but someone's got to do it, Ben answered. Do you think he's, like, embarrassed of me? Ben laughed. What? No. Technically, I added, you should be embarrassed of him. She rolled her eyes, smiling, a girl accustomed to compliments. But he's never, like, invited me to hang out with you, though. Oh, I said. That's because he's embarrassed of us. She laughed. You seem pretty normal. You've never seen Ben snort Sprite up his nose and then spit it out of his mouth, I said. But really, you wouldn't worry? I mean, we've been dating for 5 weeks and he's never even taken me to his house. Ben and I exchanged a knowing glance, and I scrunched up my face to suppress laughter. What? She asked. Nothing. I said, honestly, Angela, if he were forcing you to hang out with us and taking you to his house all the time, then it would definitely mean he did not like you. Are his parents weird? I struggled with how to answer that question honestly. No, they're cool. They're just kind of overprotective, I guess. Yeah, overprotective, Ben agreed a little too quickly. She smiled and then got up, saying she had to go say hi to someone before lunch was over. Ben waited until she was gone to say anything. That girl's awesome, Ben said. I know. I wonder if we can replace Radar with her. She's probably not good with computers, though. We need someone who's good at computers. By the way, nice call saying that Radar's folks are overprotective. Well, that's not my place to tell her, I said. I wonder how long till she gets to see the Team Radar residence and museum. The period was almost over, so Ben and I got up and put our trays onto the conveyor belt, the very same conveyor belt that Chuck Parson had thrown me onto freshman year, sending me into the terrifying netherworld of Winter Park's dishwashing core. We walked over to Radar's locker and were standing there when he raced up just after the first bell. We just dined with Angela, I said. Ben smirked at Radar and said, yeah, she wants to know why she's never been over to your house. Radar exhaled a long breath as he spun the combination to open his locker. He breathed for so long I thought he might pass out. Crap, he said finally. Are you embarrassed about something? Shut up, he said, poking his elbow into my gut. You live in a lovely home, I said. Seriously, bro, added Ben. She's a nice girl. I don't see why you can't introduce her to your parents and show her Castle Radar. By the way, I'm reading from my copy of the book that 1,400 Nerdfighters have signed. You will. You all have to sign it quickly, but yeah, we will. So this might get a little sketchy here for a minute, but I'm gonna try. Okay. Radar threw his books into the locker and shut it. The din of conversation around us quieted just a bit as he turned his eyes toward the heavens and shouted, "It is not my fault that my parents own the world's largest collection of black Santas." I heard Radar say the world's largest collection of black Santas probably 1,000 times in my life, and it never became any less funny to me. But he wasn't kidding. I remember the first time I visited, I was maybe 13. It was spring, many months past Christmas, and yet black Santas lined the windowsills. Paper cutouts of black Santas hung from the stairway banister. Black Santa candles adorned the dining room table. A black Santa oil painting hung above the mantel, which was itself lined with black Santa figurines. The light-up plastic black Santa that stood in their postage stamp yard from Thanksgiving to New Year spent the rest of the year proudly keeping watch in the corner of a guest bathroom, a bathroom with homemade black Santa wallpaper created with paint and a Santa-shaped sponge. In total, Radar's parents owned more than 1,200 black Santas of various sorts. As a plaque beside their front door proclaimed, Radar's house was an officially registered Santa landmark, according to the Society for Christmas. You just gotta tell her, man, I said. You just gotta say, Angela, I really like you, but there's something you need to know. When we go to my house to hook up, we will be watched by the 2,400 eyes of 12. Radar ran a hand through his buzz cut and shook his head. Yeah, I don't think I'll put it exactly like that, but I'll deal with it. I think that's what I'm gonna read. Thank you. I just want to say one thing about Black Santas and stories and other people, which is this. We have to be very careful, and no one knows this better than nerds. We have to be very careful about how we imagine our stories and how we imagine other people, and also how we imagine ourselves. Because what we imagine, not always, but sometimes, has a funny habit of becoming real. And so that's why Radar's parents, I mean, Radar doesn't like it, and I don't blame him, I probably wouldn't like it either, but Radar's parents are trying to get us to complexify the way we think about things. And that's funny, but it's also serious. I mean, the symbol there is hopefully a serious one, and this is one that comes up again and again and again in the book, which is that when we imagine our stories or other people too simply, too narrowly, what we end up doing is we end up dehumanizing them, and we end up not thinking that they're people in the same way that we are people, and we end up not being able to come together, but instead being divided. I think that this is one of the central problems that we face as human beings, is that we're stuck inside of these skin-encased enclosures that we can never get out of. I can never see out of any eyes but my own. I can never have any consciousness except for my own. And that makes it really, really hard for me to imagine what it's like to be you, or to imagine what it's like to be anyone in this room. And that is our challenge, is to think about one another as complexly and as compassionately and as nicely as we think about ourselves. And that's the challenge in Paper Towns, but I think it's also the challenge that we all face. And nerds know better than anyone what it's like to be on the outside of that, what it's like to be imagined wrongly, what it's like when people don't take us seriously, when people don't acknowledge the reality of our feelings, the reality of our experience, don't acknowledge us as fully human. But I would say even when people don't acknowledge us as fully human, it is still our responsibility to acknowledge them that way. And that's hard, but it's important, I think. It's dangerous not to. That's my spiel. Questions. Oh, now we're going to have a question period. Question period. Hank will hold the mic very far away from his face. Thanks for the tip. Yeah, it's because they can hear you fine. Oh, they can probably hear us without mics. Okay, so Hank's going to call on one questioner, and then I'm going to call on the other questioner. I'm going to start you. Yeah.
Nobody likes that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
I don't know.